All right, so I just finished up The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 6, and just like the week before it, I don't even know, dude. I'm honestly numb to the emotions that are supposedly going on. If you don't know this, I've been watching this with my wife anyhow, and she reacts to it as well. She liked some of the stuff that Joel did. She liked the acting that Pedro Pascal brought to the role and things like that. But to me, it didn't feel right, didn't feel great. We're going to go in depth in what occurred in the episode. To start right off the bat, I will say the things that I did like about this episode. Like I said the week before and the week before that, I really like the setting. The music is great. The way that they recreate the look of the game into the look on the TV show is fantastic. I mean, the museum, the dinosaur, the lake, the forest, it all looks eerily similar. And it gives me such a good feeling, like a feeling of comfort maybe, because I've been there, because I've played the game and experienced it in a new medium like TV. I think it's really, really cool. I love the use of the music. The music to me is one of the best I've ever heard, and just every time it kind of looms in, it just makes the fucking story better. It makes everything around it better. The visuals are just great, right? The cinematography, if you will, is beautiful in the show, and this episode was no different. But we'll get off of that now, right? That's what I like. What I didn't like was, and I've said this before, there's obviously going to be some changes to the story, to the structure, to how it feels. If I wanted a carbon copy of the game, I would just play the game. I get that point. But man, the show or the episode started with a flashback of Texas. I think it was in the 80s, and Joel and Tommy were kids. Joel has a conversation with his dad, who is a police officer. His dad, apparently, it's alluded to that he beats them, and his dad tells Joel a story that when I was a kid, my dad beat me way worse than I've beat you. And so now that I have my own kids, yeah, I beat you, but nothing like my dad used to beat me. And when you have your own kids, hopefully you'll understand and you'll do a little bit better than me. That's what he tells Joel. And honest to God, and I will be honest here, I don't even know why the fuck we had that scene. It did nothing for me. It's supposed to pay off at the end of the episode in a conversation of Joel and Ellie. But I didn't need to see it. I didn't care for it. It did nothing. Once again, it did nothing. I mean, it expanded on the life of Joel a little bit more, because this episode kind of takes a point of view of Joel. But I think that scene, if you wanted to add it, I think that would have made much more sense in the first season, to maybe explore Joel's character more, explore his background and things like that. I think that scene would have really made sense in the first season. In the second season, when everything going on, Joel already being dead, who the fuck was telling that story? You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's supposed to be flashbacks, how is Ellie gonna know that? You know what I'm saying? Like, it just, whatever. It didn't make sense to me to have that flashback there. So the episode ends up starting on Ellie's birthday, and we're kind of going through all of the flashbacks that we experienced during the game. We're kind of seeing them in quote unquote chronological order, and we get to see her first birthday with Joel, all the way to her very last birthday with Joel, and all of that whole section just felt rushed as hell. And that has been the theme of The Last of Us Season 2. Every single episode, for the most part, has just felt so rushed. It's like they have to have these seasons be only 8 episodes, and they have to cramp everything that they can into those episodes. This season could have easily have been 14 episodes, 13 episodes, and it would have just concentrated on the first part. You still didn't have to touch into Abby or any of the other stuff. If you wanted just to keep it on Ellie and Joel, you could have done that, and it could have been at least 13, 14 episodes. And you would have been able to take it a little bit slower, expanded on more story beats, expanded on the birthdays, expanded on the flashbacks and stuff like that. But it seemed like they just had Pedro Pascal for that one episode, so they had to rush through it and kind of put it all together, and it just ruined the pacing of the story. It ruined the pacing of the story so damn much that oh my God, it just threw it off. Honestly, like, and I have nothing else to say besides that. It threw it off completely. And there were some changes once again to the story, which is fine. But you know, Ellie comes off as a spoiled little fucking asshole. You know what I'm saying? And if anyone out there tells me, well, Ellie acted that way when she was a teenager in the first game, and she was similar in the second game's flashbacks and stuff like that. No, she wasn't. She was stubborn. She was hard-headed. You know, she cursed a bit, but it was like, it came from a different place. It feels like in the show, she just comes off as a fucking asshole just to be one, just because she wants to be one. You know what I'm saying? Like, the changes were crazy. Changes were crazy this time. And, you know, they wanted to explore Joel and Ellie Ellie's relationship more, but it honestly just really didn't hit. From the very beginning of season 2, even when Ellie is still like 14, 15 years old, and she's like the very first time that we see them interact in the second game, it's like a flashback where Ellie is still like 14 years old, and Ellie just looks sad. She's already living in the garage, it seems like, but she looks kind of down. Joe comes in kind of like with his head down, gives her the guitar, and you can tell that Joe loves her very much, and you can tell that Ellie, she wants to love him too, and she probably does, but she knows that something isn't right since that lie that he told, and she kind of just has a feeling that he lied, and she's been carrying that for years. 4 years since that moment. Joe comes in with the guitar, plays her a song, and it's so like beautiful and calm. Like Ellie kind of, sees how he looks, Joe kind of with his head down. It's just an interaction that is so beautiful, and there's so many things unsaid. Joel and Ellie didn't have to explain to us their emotions because we could see it by the way they looked, by their voices, by the way they were acting. Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson fucking kill it. And there was just this sense of like something beautiful is here, but it's broken. You know what I'm saying? And in the show, they kind of recreate that scene on Ellie's birthday. Ellie's wearing the same clothes as she was in that part of the game. And she's all happy, like yippee, yay, happy kid again. And she's not even thinking about the lie or anything, supposedly. Tells Joe to fucking sing because it's her fucking birthday. And Joe ends up singing the song of Future Days. And it just doesn't have that emotional weight to it. It doesn't. I didn't feel anything necessarily. And then it fast forwards to the birthday where they go out to the space museum and they see the dinosaur and stuff like that, and that shit was super rushed. It kind of went by really quickly. The visuals of it look very pretty and stuff like that. Again, it was recreated great, but the vibe of it as well, it was kind of off, to be honest. It really was kind of off. They recreated the little space scene where Ellie supposedly goes into space. That was nice, that was pretty, but again, Ellie, Bella Ramsey, the character, she like snapped right back into kid Ellie, and she just looks like a kid, bro. And again, she's 20 something years old, but she looks like a fucking kid. So she fit the flashbacks great as a kid, and I was supposed to believe that same character with that same height, with that same everything, is now supposed to be this badass killing machine again. No, I don't believe it. And there's a reason why I don't believe it, because it kind of explains it to me towards the latter stages of this episode. The next time that we see them too, if I'm not mistaken, is 2 years, right? 2 years. Now, Joel is coming back. Ellie is 19 years old, if I'm not mistaken, and he hears like something going on in the room where Ellie is sleeping. He goes in and he catches Ellie sleeping with a girl. She was like almost half naked and they were kissing, and Joel throws a fit and basically kicks the girl out and tells Ellie that, she's smoking, having sex, and getting tattoos. And he says something about her being with a girl, and Ellie says, like, she gets defensive. She says something along the lines like, this wasn't a mistake, like basically telling Joel like I'm gay or I'm a lesbian or something. And Joel like couldn't fucking believe that shit. Joel was like, no, like we're gonna talk when you're yourself, and it painted Joel as this guy who was against Ellie, and they kind of wanted to make it seem like Joel didn't like that she was gay. He couldn't believe that she was gay. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh no, she's not a lesbian. She's just like, oh, I'm in denial. Like, honestly, come the fuck on. I never, ever got that fucking sense of Joel not liking that she was a lesbian, or even caring to a certain degree that she was a lesbian in the game ever. Not in the first one, not in the second one. If anything, Joel always seemed to be supportive of whatever Ellie was doing when it was like around her personal life. If she liked Dean or if she liked a girl or something, it seemed like he was just fine with it, because it didn't really fucking matter all that much to him when there's a fucking apocalypse. There's so many things going on, people dying, infected he has to deal with. Like, he just loves Ellie. He loves that girl with all his heart. Like, he wants to protect her. He wants the best for her. You get what I'm saying? He never once gave a fuck about that aspect. You get what I'm saying? And for the show to try to portray Joel in that way honestly kind of pissed me off, because I was like, you know what? I think you're just trying to pander to whatever the fuck is going on out there, whatever certain audiences are thinking, like, oh yeah, Joel, yeah, good for you, Ellie, stand up for yourself. Like, no, shut the fuck up. Because Joel wouldn't have done that. He wouldn't have reacted in that way. Joel would have been like, okay, cool, and he would have moved the fuck on, because he loves Ellie and he cares for her, and there are much bigger things going on than that. You get what I'm saying? So honestly, really dislike that. So then that prompts Ellie to try to move into the garage. Again, listen here, this is 19. Ellie is now 19 years old. The age that we see her in the game, the age where Joel dies, the age where she goes on this rampage and she's a killer and she's a savage. Well, she's just about to move in the garage. Joel talks to her and tells her he'll fix up the garage for her and then she can move into the garage. Okay, yada yada. I don't know, the next few days, Ellie is in the garage and she's thinking about talking to Joel about what happened in Salt Lake City, because apparently it's been in her mind. Not like we have even heard about that or even thought about that during the flashbacks all that much, but she's apparently been thinking about it. So she wants to talk to Joel. Joel knocks on the door. She opens it and Joel tells her that she's ready to go on her first patrol in Jackson at 19 years old. This basically tells me that Ellie has only now started going into patrols at 19 years old, and only a few months later would Joel die and she would attempt to go on this journey by herself and kill people. And it kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense that because she started doing these patrols so late, she's so inexperienced. Honestly, now I understand why she's so fucking stupid. Honestly, when it comes to doing the basic things of like listening for clickers, like being a little bit more smarter about how she tackles certain enemies, or just she seems so incompetent during her journey now. Like it seems like Dina's the one kind of doing everything. And I said last week's episode, when Jesse came in, he kind of controlled the whole situation. Like he was the adult, the grown-up who knew how to handle everything, and he kind of put them in their place, both Ellie and Dina, and he kind of took lead. And I never ever felt in the game that Jesse took lead. I could tell that Jesse was experienced. I could tell that Jesse, was this really smart guy that knew how to handle himself. But Ellie was never like dumb. Ellie knew how to handle herself. That's why there was also respect. Like Jesse respected what Ellie did in the game, because Jesse knew that Ellie could fucking handle herself, kill people, kill, clickers. She was smart. She was vicious. She was a savage. She was experienced. And in the show, she's like a little fucking kid, man. And I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm not going to pretend that she's fucking killing it and that she's the greatest. No, she's like a little fucking kid that is lost in this really nasty, savage, and dark world. And she's kind of barely getting by. You get what I'm saying? And now that I understand that she started her patrols at 19 years old, and even during that patrol that she did, that first patrol at 19 years old with Joel, she was over here making jokes about a squirrel fucking another squirrel. She didn't want to use the binoculars. She so inexperienced, so childish, even at the 19, right? Even at 19 years old, when she wasn't supposed to be that way. The flashbacks ruined the pacing of the show even more, changed so many things where Ellie's just, I can understand and see why her character is inferior to the game version. You can't grab Game Ellie and TV Ellie and say to me that they're like the same character, because they're not at the same level. One of them is at the mountaintop and the other one is like halfway trying to climb it. Ellie in the game was just a killer. This one is just not, man. And it was crazy to me. They end up meeting Eugene, the psychiatrist or the doctor's husband. They kill him. And this was a part that deviated heavily from the game. They end up having to kill Eugene, but before that happened, Ellie told Joel, like, hey, Eugene wants to go back and see Gail, the psychiatrist, say goodbye to her. I think he has time to do that because Eugene was bit. And Joel says, okay, go get the horses and, we'll take him back. But Joel was kind of like reluctant to do that. He said, I promise we'll take him back. What ends up happening is Joel actually ends up killing him. He didn't want to take him back. He thought it was unsafe. He didn't think that it was the right thing to do. Ellie got really pissed off about that, and they end up going back to Jackson. They talk to Gail. Gail comes out. Joel explains to Gail that Eugene was bit, that he wanted to tell her that he loved her and that he wasn't scared, and then that Eugene killed himself. That's obviously not what happened. Ellie is there listening. Gail is sad. She hugs Joel, and then Ellie says, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. What actually happened was that Joel, he shot him. Eugene wanted to come back and see you, but Joel didn't let him. Joel just shot him. And I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? It was like a big ass slap to the fucking face. She just put my boy Joel out there, and he ended up getting slapped by Gail, and it just kind of turned into this really nasty thing. Ellie was like, you swore, you promised me. I'm like, oh my God. After that, we end up fast forwarding to the New Year's Eve party, and we're kind of seeing everything that occurred through Joel's point of view. We see the whole incident. Joel pushes Seth, and then Ellie says, I don't need your fucking help, Joel. She says that shit, and then Joel leaves, and then Joel's playing the little tune, the little guitar, and then Ellie passes by, and then she comes back. And right here, I got instantly hot, instantly angry, because they just took the absolute best fucking scene of the entire Last of Us 2 game, in my opinion. The scene that dictates what happens at the end when Ellie and Abby fight and Ellie decides to do what she does. Because of that scene, Ellie has something happen in her mind that causes her not to do something. It was the final, basically like the final scene of the entire Last of Us 2 game, and it was hidden all the way up until that point for a specific reason. You play this whole game thinking that the last interaction that Joel and Ellie had was Ellie telling him, go fuck yourself, and Joel feeling like shit, and then the next time that they see each other, Joel dies. That's what you think. At least that's what happens in the game. So you play the whole game with this rage and this sadness. And then when you get to that point of forgiveness or something like that, Ellie remembers this last conversation that she had with Joel, where Joel and her kind of fixed things. There's not a forgiveness there, but there's a, hey, I would like to try to fix this. And it's so beautiful, and it's short, and it's strong, and it really just makes the whole point of the story feel like that's what was supposed to happen. And so now, instead of that being like the final thing after all the chaos, it just kind of happens here in the middle of episode 6, where the season isn't even over. We did not need to see that part yet, and they end up switching things. This now, instead of being a conversation of like, why did you do that with the Fireflies, is a, did you do this to the Fireflies? Did you kill Marlene? Did this happen? Did you lie to me? This is the part where, instead of them kind of talking about it and trying to move past it, Ellie confronts Joel about what happened, you know, in Salt Lake City. So they completely changed the timeline of the events, and they just do not hit whatsoever. They do not hit whatsoever. Joel ends up telling her all these things about how he would do it again and everything, like he kind of did in the game. And then Ellie's like, oh, it's because you're selfish. Like, what the fuck? Missing the whole point. And then they try to tie in the beginning and Joel's flashback as a kid, and he tells Ellie, like, I love you more than you'll ever understand, and maybe if you have a kid one day yourself, you'll understand, and you'll do a little better than me. Honestly, pointless as fuck, to be honest. Pointless as fuck to show me that shit at the beginning, and then pointless as fuck to do that. Okay, because it didn't make fucking sense. You know, I for years have said, and you can go back and see my videos, that I wish that in the game, at least I remember thinking when Joel and Ellie was dying, or when Joel was dying in the second game, I saw the rage, the sadness in Ellie, and I wish at the time that Ellie said something like, I love you, or like, you're my dad, or something like that. Like, I wanted that confirmation, you know, like I wanted both of them to acknowledge each other, like dad and daughter relationship in the game. I wanted that so bad, because they never necessarily acknowledge themselves in that way. But the way Joel cares for her in the game and says baby girl and kiddo and all these like beautiful like little names, you know, you can tell that he loves her like his daughter, and you can tell that Ellie loves him like a dad. But you know what? I guess the game respected us enough to not just hit us over the head with it. It felt like the show just forced these words out of these characters' mouth and like wanted to tell us, yeah, like they're daughter and father, and this is, you know, and I feel like the show has done that quite a bit this season, and I don't like it, to be honest. There's so much more that can be said if it's left unsaid. You get what I'm saying? Like the game did such a great job of that, and in this fucking show it all just felt so wrong and honestly kind of cringy. That last scene, it was like, what the fuck is this, yo? What is this? The way Joel was talking to her and the way she was reacting at the end, honestly, it did not land whatsoever, man. It did not land whatsoever. And I was okay with the episode for the most part until last 10-12 minutes when they kind of went off the rails completely. It was awful to see, awful to hear. Honestly, I have no expectations for this show anymore. Like, honestly, I'm gonna keep watching it because I want to see how it ends and whatnot, but like, they've already changed so much that the changes sometimes are good or can be good in furthering the story and improving the story in the show. But the changes made here today made the show much worse. And if you've never played the game, you wouldn't even realize it. You wouldn't even notice. But honestly, it's such an inferior way to tell the story. Ellie finds out this crazy truth, this thing finally confirmed to her that Joel lied. And only a few seconds later, she's like, well, I'd like to try to forgive you. When it had actually been a year or two when she found out in the game, and it took a really long time for her to come to the point to say, hey, I might be able to forgive you for this. I'm tired, honestly. This is absolute mess of an episode. Honestly, mess of an episode. This might be the worst episode of the season. And I had high hopes for it because it looked kind of cool. I thought the whole episode was kind of going to center around Joel and Ellie in the museum, but it was so rushed. Everything is so rushed. Everything is so terrible. Holy shit, man. What an episode. What a letdown.